Okay. Hello, everyone. What's going on? My name is Gregson. That is Chad.
How are we doing, everyone?
And we are Shifting Lane Stream Crew. What's going on? We have a very cool show for you guys tonight. And thank you all for joining. For those that are early watching now and those that will join later, appreciate you guys tuning in. We have some really cool topics for you tonight, including one from one of our subscribers, Steve, who will be joining us on YouTube, as he is still in Facebook jail.
He commented before we
hope
actually went live.
Yes, there you go. And it basically is, why can a modern car like a Toyota Camry beat an old school muscle car? I'm assuming sort of stock for stock. So we're going to get into that topic, and there are a couple actually really interesting explanations for that, which I think you guys will be very interested in. We're also talking about the Mark IV Ford GT that was just released. If you haven't seen it, it's freaking gorgeous. You also get 800 horsepower with it, which has led a lot of people to say, WTF, Ford, where's that been? But we're also going to get into that a little bit later. Then we have two other topics, which are very near and dear to our hearts. If you do follow us outside of Facebook or on YouTube or whatever, two Volvo topics, which are very interesting, that you guys might be interested in as well. There's a P1800 race car right now on Bring a Trailer. And if you don't know what that is, a P1800 was a
thumbnail
that was designed and built in the 60s. So what can that possibly look like? And then also we have some C30 news that we will get to a little bit later. But thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Welcome to my garage. Welcome to Chad's home. Chad, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Before we get into any of that, though, I need to rant about something real quick because it is driving me
oh, geez.
nuts. So,
oh, God. Okay, hang on. Saying prayer.
So, as a lot of you know, the Mustang's in the shop, and I have one physical part left, apart from obviously the transmission, but one that's getting built and will be shipped directly to Blue Sky, so we should be fine with that. There's one physical part that I still need in order to finish the build, and it was the last thing I needed to grab because I wanted the direct from the tuner input on this part, because effectively it's big and the tuner will know what parts to use best. So I asked them, and it was obviously it's spark plugs, and I need some pretty high output spark plugs, gapped to a certain way and stuff like that. And I ordered them 2 weeks ago. FedEx has tried to deliver it 4 times. 4. And you would think, oh, Chad, what are you doing? What's wrong? Where have you been? Why is this? It's not my fault. They have tried. I get all my parts and stuff delivered to work because it's just easier. Someone's always there. Someone can sign for the stuff. It's so much easier. But because one of our doors happens to be locked, guess what? It can't be delivered. And all this driver has to do is walk an extra 20 feet. There's an unlocked door, drop it off, have one of my coworkers sign for it, and it's done. It's in my possession. I can bring it to Blue Sky, so we're not waiting for stuff. And eventually, if they try to do this too many times and fail, guess what they do? They send the package back to the sender. And I don't want to go through that nonsense. So FedEx, I know you're watching. You're one of the 10 viewers. Get your crap together.
I don't think they're watching. Hate to break it to you, bro, but I'm fairly certain FedEx is not watching this.
Well, if anybody here who is watching and has like a friend of a friend who works at FedEx, get their shit together.
I have a suggestion. Put a delivery sign with an arrow out there to make sure that they don't go to that door anymore.
But here's the thing. It's got to be a new driver. So, literally every part for the Mustang has been delivered here. So you know that, let's think about it for a second. The $6,000 supercharger kit dropped off at the front door at work. The $1,500 drive shaft dropped off. The clutch, the flywheel, all that dropped off at the front door. All of it. And the $79 spark plug is the one, nope, can't be delivered without a signature.
Yeah. Wasn't that the case with like all builds and stuff like that? The first 90% is easy. It's always the last 10% that's hard.
Oh,
The spark plugs are part of that last 10%.
it's just like, I mean, yeah. Angry noises.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry your spark plugs are not here. However, we got a show to do, and it's going to be fun. So let's get your mind off spark plugs and let's talk about some fun stuff. So the biggest thing that we have to talk about tonight, and since Steve is on, hello Steve, welcome. Thank you for joining as usual on YouTube, as well as anyone else on YouTube. And thank you all to the Facebook audience that's joining too. Maybe we should get into Twitch too. We should get like three kind of things going here. We get all sorts. We'll hit every part of the internet.
There we go.
Is the topic from Steve. Steve is part of our supporter group. So if you don't know and you are watching, we have a supporter group on Facebook called Shift Squad. We are doing our first ever meetup with the Shift Squad this Saturday in Pennsylvania. We plan on doing this every quarter or every third of the year. So if you want to be involved in that, you can subscribe to that group and basically be a part of supporting us. It's like $5 a month. And also, you are going to get other perks like, meet and greets, drives, things like that. You also get to pitch topics that we talk about here on stream every week. We're also going to be doing merch in the future and things like that. We got a lot of stuff planned for 2023. So if you want to do that, head on over to our Facebook page and search Shift Squad, and that is our supporter group. And this topic comes from Steve from our supporter group. And he basically says, why is it that we can... that modern cars, a Toyota Camry, can beat, older cars, muscle cars from the 60s and 70s era. And there's a multitude of different answers to this topic. First and foremost, I'll probably just go ahead and say better mechanical components. A lot of those old muscle cars are carbureted. Modern cars have port injection or direct injection fuel. There is better internals. There's all-wheel drive to consider. There's many different factors. I would say the two biggest, for me at least, are the widespread adoption of all-wheel drive. Especially with all-wheel drive Toyota Camrys. Toyota Camrys launch off the line really, really well with all-wheel drive. If you haven't been in one recently, and like a modern one, like 2020, 2021, 2022, they're pretty quick, honestly, and especially the ones with like 300 plus horsepower on them. Also, a big part of this that a lot of people I don't think consider is rubber. With a lot of old school muscle cars, if you're talking stock for stock, now we're not talking like big, huge builds. We're talking like when the muscle car was stock versus the Toyota Camry now that's stock. There were less advances in rubber in the 1960s and 70s than there are now. You also get more contact patch of the road in some cases with the Toyota Camry because it's a different, level of tire. There's less sidewall. There's more grip. There's more sidewall on the older tires. They're more narrow. So there's a lot to consider there. When you put all-wheel drive, rubber, like appropriate rubber together, you have a very good recipe for, being a world-beating kind of thing. Other than that, I mean, there's just a lot of other things that have gone on with cars that make them better than they were in the 60s. Mechanical bits, fueling, differentiation of drive shafts, gearing, any number of things. Chad, what about you? What were you thinking about on this topic? I'm sure I hit on a couple of them.
Okay, so first and foremost, power is power, whether it's carbureted or fuel injection. If you're making
stock for stock kind
if you're making 400 horsepower, you're making 400 horsepower, whether it be turbo, naturally aspirated, supercharged, etc. Right? Your point about tires, I mean, like to Doug's point, bias ply tires, not exactly in the same realm of grippiness as a modern radial. They just aren't. Advancements, like you said, to paint a wide brush on it, it's advancements in technology. Don't forget, transmission technology is huge. You know, when we're sitting here talking about in the past, you had manual transmissions. Now, we all love a manual, but modern automatics shift faster. They just do. And they have more gears, whether it be 6, 7, 8, 9, in some cases 10 gears. That means you're in the correct power band for longer. So you might make less power overall, but at a certain road speed, you're making more power than something that's in a, say, less geared transmission. So if you take all of that into account, modern engines, right? You can get through. You used to have a 350, 400 cubic inch engine to make 300 horsepower. Now a 3 liter or a 3.5 liter 6-cylinder will do the job. It's just, there's so many different things. Suspension, we're not on leaf springs anymore, for example. Just power, the way that it's transferred, limited slip, better limited slip diff technology, lighter components, better, like everything is just better now, to where I was looking at it and I actually looked up what the fastest Camry 0 to 60 is, and it's like 5.6 or something like that. To put that in perspective,
this is quick.
That is a tenth of a second faster than a 1968 Corvette with a 427 under the hood. And we're not going to sit here and say that the Camry's lighter or any of this stuff, because, I mean, fiberglass bodied Corvette, significantly lighter. But it's just, it's the endless march of progress, right? If you wanted to make a phone call back in the 60s, it was...
Yep.
Now I have this, right? And not to mention, this is to an order of a significant magnitude more powerful than the computer that was in the Apollo spacecrafts. We sent men to the moon with a fraction of the computing power that you now hold in your pocket.
Yeah, that's a lot, by the way.
I mean, just when you start to sit here and
crazy.
think about just where we are today, where we're going tomorrow. I mean, just think about it, right? How long people are going to have this conversation 10, 20, 30 years from now and talk about why, your family runabout can go 0 to 60 in sub 3 seconds because of electric cars, right?
Yeah, right.
Like I said, I think the biggest factor is the transmission and the tires, but you can't you can't just look past just where the car was and what it is today. I mean, and one last thing I'll say before we get into it. Yes, I mentioned the Corvette, which is obviously a bespoke sports car. Back in the 60s, it just was. But pretty much every other muscle car in the 60s was some form of family car with an enormous engine put in it. The Dodge Charger was a huge, full-size car with a massive back seat that they were like, I have this 426 Hemi over here sitting doing nothing. Let me just throw it in that. The Mustang famously was a Ford Falcon with a different body.
Yeah.
The GTO was basically, I think, a Pontiac Le Mans with a big engine in it. And you can go on and on and on down the list to where, imagine, and then you end up with a Camry. It's a family sedan. They can put in the quote unquote hot motor into it, which is not all that hot or exciting. But you're comparing almost apples to apples. It's just that car designers and manufacturers of today don't really see the sales benefit of throwing the biggest possible engine they have into, say, a Camry. It's not like they're sitting here thinking, well, the Camry's great, but let's put a 2UR in that and have it make 500 horsepower and people will buy it in droves. No, they won't. You'll sell one of those for every 100,000 or 100 or even 1,000 crossovers that you sell. It's the nature of the beast.
It's an interesting point you bring up, and I've had this argument, while we're on the topic really quick with a bunch of people, is I always keep saying that, AMGs and M cars and Audi RSs and S's to a certain extent are basically the European muscle car equivalents of old school muscle cars, and everyone's like, no, they're more refined and blah blah blah. But I always go back to the exact argument you just made, which is like the whole idea of muscle cars was it's a family car with a big freaking engine in it. And what are AMGs, RSs, and M cars? Literally that. It's the same freaking concept. It was brought about in the 60s and 70s. They are muscle cars by every single conceivable definition of that term. And everyone's like, no, because they're European, they're not muscle cars. They're not ham-fisted. I'm like, have you ever driven an AMG? They are horribly ham-fisted. They're an absolute handful, just like every other muscle car was.
We all love the Grand Tour, right? I'm assuming everybody here loves the Grand Tour. And real quick, Charles Hoffman, what's up? John, how you doing? Get to your points in just a second, but like real quick, what was Clarkson's biggest complaint with the AMG GT-R?
I don't remember, actually.
It was an amazing car. Fantastic to drive. An immense amount of grip. An engineer's wet dream. But at the end of the review, he sat here and said, that's not what AMGs are supposed to do. They're supposed to go sideways in a cloud of their own tire smoke. Now, granted, maybe 1 in 1,000 can actually drive it that way. But that's just further proof of your point. What was the muscle car ethos, right? The muscle car was light-to-light drag racing, cruising with your friends, doing burnouts, having a massive engine that shook the lamps, the street lamps and stuff like that. Like, that was muscle cars. And okay, if you remove part of from the definition of being American, then everybody's making a muscle car right now. What is the LAS 500 if not a Japanese muscle car?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's it's pretty funny to me to just But again, it's the onward march of progression, and then like people are so, I don't know what the word is. They're so quick to just latch on to something that they consider to be theirs, and nobody else can have it. Well, if that's the definition, then the Corvette never exists, because a sports car was an inherently European thing before the Corvette came along here and stuff like that. So but just
Charlie, what's up? Thank you for joining, man. I appreciate it. And hey to John as well. Good to see you, dude. And sorry, I haven't been on Discord really at all. Charlie runs a Discord, a Volvo Discord that I'm on, or a Discord that has Volvo chat. But I think it's a lot of Volvo people, but it's a Discord that talks about other stuff too. So appreciate that. So thanks for joining, guys. Glad you're on the YouTube side of things. We have more people watching on YouTube than we do on Facebook. I think for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Huzzah!
What's up, YouTube? Facebook, you gotta get your. I'm telling you, Facebook, get more Facebook. We saw how rowdy YouTube gets. Get your boys in here, share the stream, do that.
That's right.
You want to get your boys in here. So just to put a kind of bow tie on it, March of progress, right? Like, it's just inevitable. Things today are better than they were 50 years ago. And things 50 years from now, assuming we haven't nuked ourselves into a coma, will be better than they are right now. So it's the onward march of progress. It's something, let's put it this way, right? I have a Mustang with a 5-liter that makes as much horsepower as a 7-liter pushrod V8 from Chevy, the LS7. Progress. Is Greg still there? Oh, there he is.
I'm here. Yeah, sorry. No, I mean, agree. It's, like you said, in 20 years, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, they're going to look back at the cars of today and be like, oh, what are those things? So it's always in the name of progress as far as cars are concerned. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it all shakes out, and we're going to be around for it, which is cool to see. A lot of people that were really into the muscle car era, they're sort of like out of the car game at this point. But I don't have any plans on being out of the car game in the next 40 or 50 years, so I will still be here in the car, fully entrenched in the car realm when it happens. So I'm excited to see what happens next, but I'm gonna continue to enjoy the cars of the past and the cars of today as long as I humanly can before.
Right, and I think it becomes stubborn nostalgia. We look at these cars.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Ferraris of 50 years ago, right?
Right.
Just look at those, and they're not that particular compared to today's standards. They're not particularly fast, yet they're lusted after in the collector car market.
Right.
Charles in chat has a good point. He goes, I mean, if we all will be honest, reading good, yes. Muscle cars of that era of development was how fast one could go for as little as possible. We have seen it in every era and will continue to see it. And I couldn't say it any better myself. There will always. That's why over here muscle cars took off. That's why over in like Europe you had super sedans, and more specifically the hot hatch. It's why basically post-war Japan copied all of that and just made it their own. Little known fact.
Pretty much, yeah.
Little known fact: the Supra, when it was originally built, was not intended to be a purebred sports car. It was designed to be the Japanese Mustang, i.e., a pony car, a 2+2. Have some weight to it so it rode really well, and then have just power, which it check, and also check. Lesser Logic, what's going on? Welcome.
Thank you for joining. A very OG subscriber on the YouTube side. Appreciate you joining, man. Cheers. But let's see. I mean, I think that's a good place to pretty much end that topic. Like, modern stuff's always going to be older stuff, stock for stock. That's just how it goes. Modern EVs are faster than the old ICE cars. Old ICE cars are faster than older than that ICE cars. That's just how it works.
I mean, all you need
unless you build it out, that's just what happens.
All you need to know about that is resto modding.
Yes, resto mod.
If the stuff of today wasn't better than the stuff of yesterday, why would we do that?
Make the stuff of yesterday as good as today.
Doug's over here thinking he should switch to YouTube. However you want to watch, brother, that's fine by me.
No, stay on Facebook and send stars. And you did. And thanks for the 100 stars, Doug. You rock.
That'll work through. At any rate.
If you guys are a little confused as to what that was on screen on the YouTube side, basically if you watch on YouTube, so we multi-stream. So we have a live stream going on YouTube right now on Shifting Lanes 2. And we also have a live stream on our Facebook page going on. So we utilize the software that can kind of multi-stream from 2 different locations. We can actually do it for 3 or 4 or 5 different locations. It's just our computer can't handle 3 or 4 or 5 locations. So on Facebook, you can actually send a digital gift, which is called stars. Basically, 1 star is equivalent to a penny. So I think the minimum is like 100 stars, which is like $1. And a lot of the people kind of just like huck $1 here and there to talk about funny things or say funny things. So if you're curious, all of that is basically just donations towards us that we recycle back into making more content for you guys, which we have a metric boatload of for the next 2 to 3 months that we've talked about on stream previously, which is pretty crazy. If you haven't seen any of those streams, definitely go back and watch them. But we have 2 Volvo 245 builds coming up. Chad is boosting his Mustang to be as powerful as Jupiter. There's just a lot going on. I have a Polestar. There's lots of things happening in Shifting Lanes world. So it's quite lovely to be actually saying that we have content for the next few months from being idle for so long, which is cool.
Yeah, the next 2 to 3 months are crazy and we've learned a lot doing this for as long as we have.
Yes.
So we're going to try to bring you builds in a cohesive fashion, as opposed to 3 in a row, 3 weeks, nothing, 1 video, more nothing. We're trying to bring them in more series and stuff like that, which is why you guys haven't even seen the first part of the Mustang story in YouTube video fashion. but we're on to like parts 3, 4, and 5 now. So
Yeah.
the C30 video dropped last Friday. We have another one dropping this Friday, or sorry, last weekend. Another one dropping this Saturday. There'll be
Yep.
two more videos with that. One of which you're going to get a sneak peek with if you stick around to the end of the stream. We're just stockpiling. And that hasn't even taken into account the car behind Greg. One of his, I'm pretty sure he's trying to corner the market on 245s at this point. So it's exciting for us because we're going to have a lot of awesome content. We're going to have a lot of awesome content from this Saturday. I'm hoping to see a lot of see you guys, see what you're driving. So it's definitely super, super exciting.
Yeah.
Real quick. Doug, Charlie, C70 is good. I have my dice loaned out to a new V70R owner friend of mine, but I need to get a Vita set up to run a few codes, stuff you're good at and I don't have time for. But I will be bringing the S60 to Carlisle next year rather than the C70 exhaust contest. I'm winning that, by the way.
I don't know. Given the GT500 that won at this, you will not be. That thing sounded biblical for how it's. I know how good your car is going to sound. This thing definitely had. It was not stock. It was not stock. It was very good, and everyone that was there can confirm that it should have won, and it did for a reason. It was pretty epic. Though I would love to see you do the exhaust comp at Carlisle next year. I think that'd be cool.
I'm planning on it because
Yes.
it'll make loud V8 noises and noises because it'll have basically the supercharger equivalent of a blow-off valve.
Nice.
John Lagola asks, if you guys are still doing reviews, I may be picking up a Holy Grail Volvo from a friend that y'all could review. Hopefully I can buy it depending on how my insurance situation goes. Absolutely, DM Greg. He is our Volvo expert extraordinaire.
Yes, shoot me a message on Instagram, and I'll get back to you on there for sure. I would love to. That would be great. Keith Sweeney Swindle, what's up, man? Welcome back to the stream. And also I messaged him, but hello, Aaron. Thank you for joining, another supporter. You are the best. Thank you so much. You guys are legends. Keith asks, do we have merch? We do have merch. We're sort of in the works of doing a lot of new stuff. You probably see I have a lovely Shifting Lanes hat. This was a sample that I got from a company called Queensboro. It's a nice white on gray trucker with our classic green and black logo. We obviously have Shifting Lanes 2 that we, I believe, are going to be shortly rebranding in the next couple of days to Shifting Lanes Garage, because I stream from my garage. We hope to own a garage for Shifting Lanes at one point. Chad owns a garage. Hansen does not have a garage, but he has cars and a driveway. So either way, it'll be Shifting Lanes Garage, moving forward. You're hearing it here first. And Chad just dropped a link to our normal merch line just in the chat on Facebook. We're trying to experiment with some other stuff. That is our normal stuff. Don't buy the hat on there. This is not that hat. This is from a different company, because I wanted to see if they could do embroidery and a trucker hat. So I have some orders from our subscriber group that I still need to message you guys about and get more stuff from that to see what they can potentially do. And then after that, we'll blast it out to the larger Shifting Lanes audience and stuff like that. But yes, we do have merch, maybe more merch coming in the new year, and more very cool hats coming in the new year as well. And all of it's pretty affordable, quite honestly. The t-shirts are $20, hoodies are $40. It's any other creator, it's about the same price. This from the company I ordered it from was $25-$30. So it's all right on par with what you'd expect from normal merch. So if you want to support us, you can go there, buy our stuff. That would be great. But more stuff will be coming in the new year.
Wait, hold on. I just.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Keith, I want to wrap one of y'all's cars. Are you a car wrapper?
You could wrap my car tomorrow if you want.
Because
Also, Chad wants his car wrapped.
mhm.
You can wrap both of our cars.
Because
Well, Chad has things. He's doing things.
mhm.
I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing things.
But I want to investigate wrapping the Mustang to look like that.
Oh, nice. Yes, the GTR 720 GTR. Rest in peace.
It may be repairable.
Maybe we'll see. Maybe
That's right, Keith. I think I've seen the Mazda 3 is like a plum color, if memory serves me, from my late night Facebook things, scrolling words. But Charles thinks he'll beat everyone with the company truck. I'd love to see that. For
that would be
exhaust
outstanding
and
if you could
burnout.
do
Wait,
the
does
truck.
Carlisle have a burnout competition? Because I have a line lock.
Oh yes, they do. 100%.
Fantastic.
They do burnout competition.
Is it like
they have
Aussie?
autocross?
Is it Aussie style?
Actually, you know what? I've only seen one of them. I didn't see it last year because I don't think they did it by the grandstand, which was weird. But usually they just have like a small place and they just let them go until someone blows a tire or whatever. But yeah, but no, people bring out like kind of total shit kickers for burnout contests. I would not do it in your Mustang at all. You will roast a tire, you will maybe blow a tire and blow a fender, and you will lose to a shit kicker. So no, I would not recommend it.
All right, so I remember you saying that the second 245 wagon is capable of some big power.
They both are actually.
Okay, so 245 burnout car.
Yes, we could do a 245 burnout car. Talk to Aaron. Aaron's the one to talk to about that. We can get some power going and get some rear wheel.
Go to a Cletus and Cars.
Tire fire going. Hell yeah, brother.
Do it for Dale. All the Dale.
Do it for Dale. Keith, to get to two of your things. Yes, sir. Wrapped my EG and doing a Mazda 3. Yep. And then Hot Fire. Yep, satin black cherry. And Chad, you were correct. Yep, satin black cherry. But yeah, I mean, you can wrap our cars honestly if you want. I would love to do mine in a different color other than black, just because black is cool, black is nice, black is stealthy, but black's a little boring. And I'm not selling this car, so it doesn't have to be black. I can make it any color I want.
Yellow.
Actually, you know what? It's funny you say that. There is a person I follow on Instagram from Sweden, and she owns a V60. I don't think it's a Polestar, but it's all like modded up and everything. It's like Marisen or something like that. And she wrapped hers yellow, and it looks amazing. It honestly looks super good. I would really consider doing yellow on this
Or
car,
alternating
quite
shifting lanes logos. The shifting lanes 1 and shifting lanes 2 in like the Louis Vuitton style on the entire car.
I was just like, should we do like SL1 and SL2 new car camo?
Yeah.
It's like like a car camo wrap. I'm down for that. Aaron goes 81 Volvo 245 B234 FT with a 19G turbo, good for around 400 horsepower. That's what we're going with the green one. So 400 horsepower, definitely going to roast some tires with that guy.
Oh, that's adorable.
Hey, you shut up. Power to weight.
How much is your car going to weigh?
Less than the Mustang.
But only make 400 horsepower. Does it weigh 3,000 pounds
weight.
less than the Mustang?
Yes, my car's an RC car now with a red block.
Let's see. Wrap is the new paint. It is, but so like
It really is.
I'm dead serious about wrapping the Mustang just because, well, there's two sides to it. So I'm basically going to repaint about 40% of it when the new bodywork goes on. And then I really want to wrap it just because I can take the wrap off, And sorry, got distracted. But I'd love to wrap it just because the flexibility it allows. So
Yeah,
I would love to.
I like wraps for that exact reason. You can be flexible. It's not permanent. You can always revert back to what you had previously. That's why I really like wraps. And if you have like an old car or a car that is going to be a certain color or whatever, and you're never going to change it again, fine, repaint it. But, if you want to change up the look of your car every 3 or 4 years, which, I sort of do, a wrap is a far better option.
Oh, yeah. No, it's something I go back and forth on. But we're not at that point yet.
Yeah. Yet. We'll see.
I need the Mustang
really
to be boosted quickly before I start. Like, we talk about this all the time, and I've gone down that, and you're like, finish the performance, then buy body parts.
Yes.
Which, when I get to, we will have a live stream. When I do get to body parts, I will have a live stream, and you guys will help me choose, at the bare minimum, the rear wing, possibly even the rear bumper, if I decide to change it. So,
live stream help me choose my car stuff. I like that. That'd be kind of cool. Really quick, big shout out to Aaron Okleshaw. I forget how to pronounce your name, man. I apologize. He is a viewer of ours that is actually blind. So he said, "Hey guys, your blind viewer is back. What are we on at the moment?" Right now, we're just chatting between topics, man. So thanks so much for joining. We're about to talk about, and that might be a good segue for the next topic.
Okay.
We are going to be talking about the new Ford Mark IV GT, which is a $1.7 million track-only special. And it's come with a bit of controversy. Now, really quick before we do that, actually, Doug just sent another 100 stars and said, "Flash green wrap the Mustang."
No.
Yes. Oh, please, yes. Also, change the interior to orange.
Oh my gosh.
Let's take a V70R Mustang.
Can we not?
This is the Ford. This is the Ford GT they're talking about. Obviously, this is not.
This is the inspiration.
Right now, this is the Heritage version.
No, this is the. So real quick, before we dive into the new one, I feel like because Steve liked the history lesson slightly before. To those of you who don't understand why the Mark IV is a big deal in the Ford GT, GT40 sphere, it is because we all know the Ford versus Ferrari story, right? We all know that Ford wanted to beat Ferrari because Ferrari basically said no on a deal and yada, yada, yada. And what we saw in the movie was Ford beating Ferrari, which actually happened in 1966. And so on and so forth. But what we didn't kind of get, and the subtext that they wanted you to believe, but that actually wasn't true, was that it was an all-American, all-Ford effort. And it wasn't. The original car was a Lola GT with a Ford engine and bodywork that was actually inspired by the original Mustang concept, if you squint and stretch it a little bit. But at any rate, it wasn't so. Ford's like, okay. And then they got back to work. They completely redesigned the GT into the Mark IV, which is what you see here. And the Mark IV won with, I believe, AJ Foyt and, gosh, I'm going to forget. I think Dan Gurney. I think that's why you see the little hump on the driver's thing. That's the Gurney bump or whatever, because he was a tall as fuck driver. But that's what, and then the Mark IV was the all-American victory at Le Mans that beat Ferrari by like something ridiculous, like 40 miles or something like that. Which is
which in racing terms is an eternity.
Even on the monster that is the Le Mans racetrack, that is a huge margin. It's like 8 laps, roughly. So. And so, to honor that all-American victory, Ford is bringing you the Mark IV Ford GT, which looks stunning, and on the rear wing says Multimatic, which is Canadian.
I was just going to say, that all-American victory, which is made not in America. It's literally made in Canada.
Yes.
but that's fine. But the controversy of this car, which is something that people have talked about, is this car. Now, the new Ford GT that this is sort of based on, we all know has a 3.5 liter, twin turbo EcoBoost, putting out roughly 600 horsepower, right? And that is not a number to slouch at because many people have driven the Ford GT. Many people have been in ride-alongs. I've been one of those people, and it is an absolute mind F as to how fast that car is. This car has 800 horsepower from the same engine. And everyone's kind of saying, what the hell, Ford? Why is the regular Ford GT not been given that engine the whole time and dialed it up? Well, because my answer is it doesn't
It never
need
had
it.
to. So there's two things to why this is arguably one of the dumbest, very dumb things I've ever heard vehicle like, why didn't you give us all the power in the first place? Yuck. Have you never ever seen a car come out? What comes out first? The regular one. What comes out that? A slightly spicier version of the regular one. What comes out after that? The really spicy version of the car, and so on and so forth. That's why things like AMG exist. That's why the M division exists. That's why Ford Racing exists. That's why Ford Performance exists. It's literally how they do things. It just doesn't change when the car becomes a mid-engine supercar. Number two, it never needed that horsepower because these cars get choked to high hell when they go racing, and in the GTLM class, they get neutered so much. I mean, one of the dark secrets about GT racing is that these cars don't make the production cars, and oftentimes make way more horsepower than their road going variants. Which is why I'm kind of interested to see if the GT2 class kind of grabs hold, because those are 700 horsepower with less aero and driver aids. It's a topic for another day. So why go through all the effort? You have an engine that's lightweight, strong, makes the power you have, has a wide power band, which is what you need for racing. Well, okay, let's see what it'll do in street trim. Okay, it made 600 and change, and that's enough. And the car was a rocket ship. Then the last thing I'll touch on with this is that we knew this engine could make this power. We knew this all the way back when the engine was brand spanking new. Why did we know this? Because the Huna truck made 900 horsepower with a 3.5 liter EcoBoost V6. Mm-hmm. We knew it was possible. It's just these cars were so expensive. They were $500,000 brand spanking new, that nobody really, really wanted to play with them, so to speak, right? They didn't want to be mess with its originality because these things are collector cars. They will be $1 million cars in 20 years without a question or a shadow of a doubt. So they didn't want to ruin it, especially given the low production numbers. So, and then to sorry, Antoine. To his point, this is the swan song. You don't want the least powerful version of the car being the swan song. You want the thing everybody wants and remembers as the last thing, so it sticks in your head, so that if they decide to pull a Viper with this and in 7 years they're like, man, we should build another one, people remember this one. They don't necessarily remember the original. They remember this one, and they're like, well, if we get that spicy meatball in the car, tell me more. I'm interested. Here's my money. That sort of a thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I agree with you. It's such a hilarious argument to me. It's just like, why didn't we get this 800 horsepower version? It's like, again, because it doesn't need it. Cars don't need 1,000 horsepower. None of them do. Literally none of them do. Is that awesome? Yeah, super awesome. But like,
I'll be knocking on that door. What are you trying to say?
Right, exactly. But the thing is, like, cars, especially to be fun, cars don't need to the moon horsepower. They just don't. It's such a stereotype to be like, oh, well, the Miata, but like, yeah, but like the Miata is a fun car to drive. Like, you get that car on a back road doing 30 to 40 miles an hour, it's gonna be way more fun than a supercar doing 30 to 40 miles an hour, because you cannot exploit what a supercar does on a back road. And if you do, you're gonna run out of talent real fast. Not only crash, but also endanger the lives of others, which is not really a great thing. you know, I would take a Miata on a windy back road than a supercar for that particular reason. Is more power fun? Yeah, it's super fun, and you know what? You can exploit it at the drag strip or on track or whatever. But if you have this kind of money, you know, buy this. Don't buy the regular Ford GT. That's the whole end of the argument. There, you don't need you don't need the insanity of everything. You can buy a regular Ford GT and you can have fun on a track too. If you have the money, you can buy this as if you don't feel the regular Ford GT is up to the trackability. You know, it's just a funny argument, and then I think it's such a D swinging contest in a lot of ways, and it seems to be such a contrived argument at this point because we've gotten pretty much.
Thank you, Doug.
We mentioned it. Yes, thank you for the other 100 again as well. Awesome. For sound deadening my garage. Yeah, it's sort of echoey in here. Sorry.
Yeah, we can put some mats and stuff up, but like real quick, like
yeah, I'll dynamite the walls in here. But just to put a bow on my thing is like the horsepower wars, you know, are sort of over. You know, we now have daily driver cars, EVs and ICEs that are reaching 1,000 horsepower. We have these, you know, super insane cars that are, you know, 800, 900, 1,500, 2,000 horsepower. You know, it's, you know, I think we need to stop, honestly. Like, we don't need more. What we should be doing is sort of making the car itself overall a better handling, better balanced, and better overall thing. And that's sort of what everything is going towards, you know,
sorry,
obviously.
do you not see the arrow on this thing? Once we loop back around to it, but like the arrow is straight race car stuff.
But just in general, like I think if there was a comment, I got to look back in the comments about 1,000 horsepower Miata. Like that would be a riot for like 3 days, and then it would get super boring and super tiring.
Yeah.
Or just go get a Mustang, you know, and boost it. Like you don't need 1,000 horsepower Miata. Get a Mustang.
Yes,
do mad burnouts.
Then the Miata will finally be interesting.
That way. Yeah, I don't know. To me, it just seems really contrived. I'm all for power, but like to me, 400 to 500 horsepower in almost any platform is pretty much the sweet spot.
So like, there's a couple things I wanted to touch on. Number one, like, if Ford launched this GT and we all gasped when we saw the original price tag of the reintroduction of the EcoBoost GT, we all saw it was like $500,000, and it was like, are people actually going to pay that for something with a Ford badge on it? And they did. If they gave you more power, that number would have been higher. So why not take the money you make by selling the other ones and build something like this, as opposed to building something like this, which only 67 people are going to get and is only legal on the track. So this is a toy. And It's just... And then to your point about power, yes. Look, if you have anyone will tell you that if you have a back road, you want to kind of feel, why do we drive in a spirited fashion in the first place? It's because we want to kind of let out our inner race car driver. We're not, but we want to let it out. And if we had a car with a shit ton of power, you lose some of the fun, because to get the most out of that car, you are doing a lot of miles per hour. And in a slower car, you make one little mistake and you might be able to catch it. Unless you have extensive driver training, if you make a little mistake in a big power car, it's a big mistake. And I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, because again, look at me, right? I am making something that the goal is 700 horsepower at the wheels. And that is going to be a rocket ship. And one of the things that I've already thought about with this whole build was I'm going to lose some of that back road fun ability with that car, which is why I already have that already percolating in my brain. But here's the thing. If you're the type of person that looks at this car, and I'll just put a wrap on this entire topic, because chat is actually moving pretty gosh darn good right now. To put a kind of final thing on this topic is, you know, if you're the person who sits here and says, why didn't we get the big power first? Clearly has never, ever, ever, ever driven any any type of car that is even remotely like this. They've never driven a supercar. They've never driven anything with a carbon fiber monocoque that is light, stiff, rigid, and can handle like something like this can around a track or in a fashion that is
100%.
safe. You've never driven anything like that, because I guarantee you, if you went out and drove on a track, got proper instruction, and was actually able to put decent laps together, you would never ever complain that these things don't have enough power. You know, there's a reason why most guys who start in sports car racing start with, and just to bring it full circle, the Miata Cup or the GR86 Cup or the cars that are only making 200 horsepower. There's a reason you start there and then work your way up to the power, or more specifically, the high downforce cars.
Right. Exactly. I think that's a great point to end on, and I would like to end this for my point. Just look at this thing. It's gorgeous.
I'd be more mad that we didn't get
less
this body style than I would about the engine.
Yeah. I couldn't care less about the engine power or whatever. Like, just the way this car looks, chef's kiss. It is so nice. It's so beautiful. Like the headlight design, the aero, the ground effects. I could give or take the turbofans on this particular thing, but just the body itself,
and
the big wing. Oh man, it is the best looking modern new Ford GT they've made, in my opinion.
Oh, without question, or any remote shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, it's cool, and the louvers or the slats in the hood with the two air intake nostrils in the front. So sick, so cool. Great front hood design. Love this.
Christian, answer your question.
Love
this is actually a track day special built in conjunction with Multimatic, i.e. the team that built the race cars and had a hand in designing the road car as well, because they were done at roughly the same time. Actually, they were done at the same time.
Exactly.
But this is basically the ultimate version of the Ford GT LM car, or that race at Le Mans. Not so much the ultimate road version of it, just because it's a track toy. Yep. Yes, Doug, a Cobra with a small block is more fun than a big block. Just tire shredding machine. Spirited driving.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Keep chat entertained, sir.
All right. Charlie says you need to review his car. A lot has changed since Carlisle. So, yes. And yes, to John's point over on the YouTube side of things. We have 4, maybe 5 projects going for 3 dudes. That's that's enough. I mean, I can only handle the one project, even though the next project in my head is literally 1.5 miles down the road for sale in good condition and a decent price. It's just the Mustang still has a decent Miata's worth of money needed to finish her. So, I mean, Greg, God bless him. He's got the Polestar, the 245, the 245, and probably something else. But at any rate, that should carry us. Most of that should carry us through well into, if not all of next year, with content on those cars. And again, if you were here earlier, it's the same thing. Just how exciting this year is going to be for us as far as the project cars and things of that nature. How many stars would we need to get one of these GTs? Well, let's see here. If 100, multiply 1.7 by 100. That is 170 million stars. That is roughly what we would need, I think, if my math is correct. And then we would have to be approved by Ford to actually own it. So, Ford doing a Ferrari thing here, but whatever. don't really want to don't want to really dive into that rabbit hole. The Justin asked how many stars would it take for us to get one of these GTs, and I think it's 170 million stars. I mean, frankly, I would take half of that, and we could make some pretty awesome stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. Antoine, that's like people complaining about the Integra Type S. Why didn't we get the 2.0 turbocharged engine in the first place, or the regular Integra? Just to make the point, the 2.0, the 2-liter turbo engine was being worked on. You can't ask a car brand to give enthusiasts anything higher, because the reworked engine didn't even go into the Civic Type R first, and then the Type R didn't even get on the road yet. Yeah, basically, it's development. You want to make sure the car is solid before you start chucking a huge amount of horsepower. And Justin has just sent 100 stars. Thank you so much. We're well on our way to getting a Ford GT Matchbox. But we're getting there, and I appreciate it, and I love you guys, and I can't wait to every little tiny little piece helps, because it's,
yes,
you know,
thank you for the support, guys.
Like
you guys
I just said,
awesome.
there is a decent NA. If you were to sit here and find a very nice NA Miata, that's about the cash I would need to finish the Mustang. So
there you go.
I appreciate you, Justin. Ready. Did I finish that? Yes, I did.
Antoine asks, how much overtime are you working to put all these modifications into your Mustang? The answer is a lot, because it's mostly shifting lane stuff. Because we, if you guys have noticed, we've done a lot of like reels and stuff recently, and you know, we're pretty transparent about like what we do here. Like, obviously we make money through shifting lanes, through you guys supporting us with stars and subscriptions and stuff. We make money on you guys watching our videos on YouTube. That's how we make the lion's share of our money. But Facebook also has this thing where certain creators can opt into different programs. There's bonus programs. They're now experimenting with like ads on reels, essentially. So you make a reel, you're in, you know, you have monetization turned on certain things. They'll put ads on your reels as well, which is just like TikToks or shorts or whatever. So if you've noticed, in a lot of different places, regular shifting lanes 2 on YouTube, shifting lanes Facebook, shifting lanes Instagram, we've been doing these, you know, short form, you know, vertical, not horizontal, sort of style videos. And that's because we're earning money on those as well. We're making a big push there, and it's actually become, you know, good enough to the point where it's, I think, about half of what we make on YouTube, which is a pretty significant increase for us, which is cool. So with that in mind, we can then, I mean, hopefully it continues to go even larger next year, because YouTube has announced that they're actually turning on monetization for shorts. So we're going to be utilizing that vertical format in a lot of different ways to, one, earn more money, to make more content for you guys, but also because, you know, we're doing all of this anyway on Facebook and Instagram, so we're going to utilize those videos on YouTube as well. So you'll see it in a bunch of different places, and hopefully we'll earn a little bit more money to then make more projects for you guys. So that's sort of the whole story there. But that's how we're able to do 2 Project 245s, and Chad was able to boost his Mustang. So there you go. There it is in a nutshell. But the biggest thing, I think, is with all of these shorts and reels is we're going to obviously give you the long form content of like, you know, we bought a whatever, you know, here's everything wrong with it. You know, the normal kind of fare that you want to see for long-term things, get involved with the car, you know, be involved with us as creators. But, you know, the sort of like little in-between stuff you don't really get to see a lot of, which is really cool, because this is such a powerful tool. You'll be able to see that stuff now. So we'll be able to show you little reels of what happens in between, you know. Oh, whoa, just hit my computer.
So powerful.
So it's so powerful that I just crushed my computer with it.
Yes. Continue being entertaining. I'll be right back.
All right. But it's cool in the sense that we get to sort of bring you along for the ride even more now, that instead of, you know, 1 video a week on a vlog about our cars, will it be able to bring you along for the ride for other things? Like I've made a ton of reels on this car of like, oh, literally a 4-second video. That mirror cap is carbon fiber. I literally put my camera up, make a video about it, and say, hey, carbon fiber mirror caps, love them. Would you do this to your car? That's a reel or a short, and it's 4 seconds. It's engaging, and it gets everyone involved, and it brings in more audience to the channels across all the social media spectrum and YouTube. So it's really helpful to do things like that to show you guys the in between that you wouldn't necessarily see, but also that it gives you more content to consume, and not in a way of like greedy of like, oh, watch our stuff, be more engaged with us, give us more money. It's more of just like, well, I made this vlog a week ago, what the hell have I been doing in the meantime? Well, we have day jobs and there's lots of stuff going on in the meantime, but here's some cool things about our car that you might find interesting. It's more in that realm as opposed to just being like trying to, mind hack you guys to watch our stuff more, which, we would love, but it's not the whole end game of what we're trying to do. So with that said, that's pretty much it. And I will go back to chat to sort of respond if there's anything there. Thanks again, Justin, for the 100 stars for the 4 lanes, for the Shifting Lanes GT. Appreciate that. Also never going to happen. Charlie, we got to get a Discord going for this. I would love to open a Discord for Shifting Lanes. I would literally never be in there. That's the problem. I have so many other things going on, and so does Chad, and so does Hanson. Like, none of us would be in there. That's the problem. This live stream is sort of our Discord, where we can be entertaining, talk about cool, fun things like the Ford, our own cars, and get to engage with you guys. This is like our Discord, essentially. If you guys want to share these streams on Discords that you're on, that would be a huge help to us, because that brings in more viewers and we can chat with everybody and just, say hello and be able to entertain people, even if it's just for one kind of thing. So that would be cool. So yeah, feel free to share it around. I would love for that. Let's see. Antoine, when's Hanson coming back to the chat? I would guess he's taking a break for Christmas Day and New Year's Day, which December 25th, January 2nd, 2023 are both Mondays, just to get caught up on his car review, life he's been so busy with, and what he's got coming up for the new year. So Hanson is sort of focusing on the car review side of things, while Chad and I focus on Shifting Lanes 2, growing us on Facebook and YouTube as far as shorts. So think of Shifting Lanes as sort of like a group effort in 2 places, car reviews and stream/personal cars. That's sort of like how we're dividing and conquering, because we want to grow the Shifting Lanes 2 channel enough to be sort of equivalent to the reviews channel. That's our short-term goal. And then hopefully both of them just kind of continue to level up as we go along. So Hanson, he may pop back into chat once in a while, but mostly he's not going to be on. He's utilizing this time to sort of like edit videos, create new reels and stuff for the OEM car review side of things. So, but he still has his Veloster N, Hyundai Tucson, and I think that's really it. He's doing one review too, but that turned out to be a lot of work, honestly, on top of his day job. So he is just doing one car a week, and the way that works is we work with the fleet management companies, and he basically is fed a list of like, hey, here's what I got for the month or the next 2 months. Cool, schedule me out for this car on this week, this car on this week, and yada, yada, yada. So it's more about what the fleet management company has available from the manufacturers, as opposed to us just being like, hey, manufacturer, give me this car. We don't have we don't have that clout. And quite honestly, no one does, except for Car and Driver, who buys their own cars and does long-term testing with it. So that's really how that sort of all works. Let's go to YouTube. Any comments on YouTube? Shifting Lanes should invest into my Jeep. No, Steve, hard pass. So sorry. I know your Jeep, and well, your own words, it stinks. So no, I think we're good. But thanks for the offer, man. Chad, have you returned?
Possibly.
He's there.
Yes, I am. Justin has asked you. He may be getting a '04 S60R on the cheap. What should he look out for?
Ooh, interesting. All of it. Just look out. And I'm sure other people in chat can chime in. Mostly Charlie and Doug, who are Volvo owners and know a little bit more about the R platform. Especially Doug, since he works for Volvo. But from me, the biggest things you can look out for is actually something Charlie just said. Electronics is one of the things. P2 platform cars, which range from in R's in the U.S. 2004 through 2007 is the P2 platform R generation. They're not known to be very good electronically. They have a lot of like sort of electronic foibles that happen. But when they are right, they perform really nicely. And mechanically, there is a couple of things that you need to watch out for. The blocks on these things, they love to crack, actually. There's a gap between the cylinder walls. So Volvo, in their infinite wisdom, decided to design an engine that has a small gap, between each of the cylinder walls, and that is prone to cracking with a lot of boost. Even some that don't even put tunes on it or anything do have block cracking if it's not, kept up to snuff. So that is something to look out for. Buying a blown head gasket kit or a block crack kit, they do make them, and bringing it with you to see the car, you can actually test it right then and there, and something about the color of the liquid will turn. I think it turns from blue to green. It actually will tell you if the block is cracked. The other thing is the PCV system. Literally the easiest test ever. Open the engine bay, take the oil cap off on the top of the engine, and place a glove on top of it. One of the, here, hang on. It is like a mechanic's glove, like one of these. Literally take this and just put it on top of the oil cap. Turn the car on. If it blows up and gives you the finger, it turns into a balloon, the PCV system needs a complete overhaul, which could be, at a dealer, many thousands of dollars. For yourself, at minimum, you're looking at many hundreds into maybe 1,000, depending on the kit. I think SCP Euro sells a kit for like $700-800. So it's going to be a lot of money. If it sucks the glove in, not totally into the engine, obviously, but if there's like vacuum on it and it sucks it in, PCV system is good. Very easy test to do. One of the best things you could do if you're picking up a car or even going to look at it. So bring a glove with you. And some other things to look out for is if you are able to drive it and get on it, you can pretty easily tell if the all-wheel drive is working. These cars have enough power that they'll spin the fronts in first and second if you don't have all-wheel drive working. If you do have all-wheel drive working, you'll know you're getting some push from the back. What else?
It's a Vermont car, so look for rust. Like that would be number one.
Yep. Rust in the subframe, rust underneath, rust on any of the rocker panels, fenders, things like that, especially if the fenders have been rolled. And for front bumper droop, but I'm pretty sure all P2s have front bumper droop at this point. Aaron has a good list here: angle gear, AOC pump, some and ECM, and a cracked block. Yeah, those are some pretty high profile ones. It's tough to check all of those things in just looking at it or just going for a test drive. But listening, or Justin says listening, it says it has a coolant hose leak and leaking flex pipe. I would, quite frankly, I would say avoid it. And Aaron says 2,000 max. I wouldn't even spend the money. At this point, P2s, unless you're getting a sorted one or you have a purpose for the car to actually rebuild it, or you're a YouTuber and want to make content out of it and do it that way, I don't really see the point in owning a P2 if it's not sorted anymore, because they tend to be pretty big money pits. So I would just say avoid it, quite frankly. Cool cars, great engines, but not the best. I would save your money and look for an 855R or a previous Gen V70R, P80. They're just better cars.
From the voice of Mr. P2 himself.
Now, with that said, let's talk more Volvo things because which do you want to talk about first, Shad? Do you want to talk about C30 or you want to talk about P1800?
Let's get the P1800 out of the way.
Okay. And out of the way is a funny thing to say about a race car.
Yes, it is. Just give me 1 second here.
Yes.
So, real quick.
Yeah, no sweat, Justin. Anytime, man. And you can always feel free, since you're a supporter, always feel free to DM us. We'll on any platform. We'll try to respond as best we can.
Absolutely. So, we interrupt this sound consumer advice for race car. What you are
pretty much, yes.
What you are looking at is the engine, now the fuel system of a P1800 race car that did a lot of stuff in SCCA and all this other sort of stuff. But you're seeing kind of the guts of it, which is, I mean, here's the bottom line, right? When it comes to P1800s, not really a big fan. I know that might be Volvo sacrilege, but they always looked like, they looked really, really, they're just that. The rear end of these things, I'm not a fan of. But when you race car the things, they suddenly become better. Greg.
Yeah, this is cool. This is very cool. And I'm with you. I've never been a huge fan of the P1800. I'm a fan of it as far as design is concerned, because I think aesthetically it's a very attractive car for its time period. I love the flowing lines, the big, extended fenders. That's a wonderful angle. These things from the side profile is really pretty. But this thing looks awesome. It looks so cool. I've never seen a P1800 race car before. It's the first one I've ever seen, and it's badass. This thing is sick. We were talking about in our shifting lanes chat the other night, and everyone was on board like, yes, I approve of this purchase. And I'm just like, if I didn't have 2 Volvo projects right now, I would maybe consider it, because this thing is freaking awesome.
It sold for $37,500.
Okay, I would not have considered that much money because yesterday it was at $8,200.
Yeah. So just real quick, it was in the FP class of SCCA. It has fiberglass bodywork and finished in obviously white. It has a Quave Rocket 4-speed manual gearbox. And it is powered by a 2-liter Volvo B20 inline 4-cylinder. Look, we were just talking a little bit ago about how much fun you can have on a track or in a spirited drive with something with not a lot of power, a manual box, and really good grip. Well, I present to you something with not a lot of power, a manual gearbox, and really good grip.
Literally what we were talking about.
So
this is it.
This is, I mean, again, when you make something into a race car, it instantly gets cooler. It usually looks better. I mean, look at any variant of a race car and compare it against its street counterpart. I would hazard a guess that 99.99999 times the race car looks better. It's just more aggressive. It's purpose built. It's just,
yep.
I would go as far as to say that between this and the Cyan Racing P1800, those are the 2 best looking P1800s you can get.
Totally agree. I mean, this is just cool. What's not cool about this? Nothing. Racing slicks.
It has a dry sump
fully
oil
stripped out
system,
cabin. Yeah, a dry sump, but it also has a period correct engine, which is cool. It's not some like LS swapped like track monster. They built the car to be like a Volvo race car, which I think is the coolest part of this. Like, I mean, just look at that blue AN fitting. Like that's correct. That is correct engineering. That is beautiful, and it's done well. It's done perfectly. This thing's been raced. This isn't just some like trailer queen that goes around. It's a car that is actually used, and I think was used up until at most recent in 2021. Like, that's fantastic, and it's so cool to see cars like this Because yeah, you know what? That new Mustang GT3 or GT4 you can buy out of the box. That Porsche GT4 you can buy out of the box that you can take track only. That are like the affordable race cars. Those are cool. This is cooler because this is just
I
old school engineering at its finest. And I guarantee, you show up to any track day with those cars and this car, and you will be swarmed in this car comparatively. Because there's a million other cars there that are modern, fast, and fun that people have ungodly amounts of money they can buy. You show up with this thing, you're going to turn some heads in the paddock, and you'll probably turn some heads on the racetrack too, because I guarantee you it's fast, because it's light. And, as we know from Colin Chapman, founder of Lotus, just add lightness. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather the others though. But at any rate, Antoine says it looks like it could be the bastard child of the Dukes of Hazzard car that the Dukes of Hazzard's car didn't want for a son. I mean, if you race car a car from that era, it probably sits real nice next to an old Charger. Doug goes, Volvo advertised it as a souped down Ferrari, cringe, which I believe was the inspiration for the prancing moose logo, which is admittedly awesome.
It is awesome.
I still am quite partial to our iteration of that, and that is the Hellwinkle logo, which you can get in the merch link we have above.
Yes. Hellwinkle. Merca.
Justin goes, I don't know if you guys saw, but there's a 1967 1800 for sale in New Jersey. I most certainly didn't see that because, like I said, I'm not actively looking for these cars. Greg might, just because he's a much larger Volvophile than I am. But
I'd be interested to see it, but sorry, to be quite honest with you, if I'm spending my money on an older Volvo, I'm getting an Amazon 122 wagon.
Yes,
and
much
doing that
gorgeous
because it's
classic.
It's gorgeous. Design. It's a better looking car than the P1800. I know that's going to be sacrilege to a lot of Volvo purists, but the P1800 is a pretty car. The Amazon wagon, the 122 wagon, is a beautiful car. It's a better looking car in every conceivable way, especially when they're both modified. I think that the Amazon wagon is a dream build of mine. I would love to. Maybe I build both of these 245s up, sell them both on Bring a Trailer, and dump the money into an Amazon build. I don't know. It depends on what you guys want to see, and if I like either of those 245 builds. So we'll have to see. I'm interested in making good content for you guys, and if it dictates that we do a P1800 build, sure, I'm down. But I would much rather do an Amazon wagon build, to be quite honest with you. This, however, is still very cool. There's no not cool about this. 1960s car, make a race car out of it. There's not a 1960s car that's a race car that isn't cool. This is just cool.
Yes,
flat out.
I completely agree. While it's not necessarily my cup of tea, it's super cool. It's super cool that it raced for as long as it did, and I can, without even ever sitting in it, I can tell you it's a riot to drive, like an absolute
for sure
riot. So, I mean, being interesting, being different, being something that's well sorted and engineered, like you said about the anodized AN fittings and all that other sort of stuff. It is just it's cool. It's really cool, and kudos to the guy who drove it. And I hope the new owner continues to drive it and continues to enjoy it as it should.
Yes, don't store this. Use it.
Alrighty.
Yeah. I have a crying child, so I'll be right back in 1 second again, and then we'll get to our other topic.
See, the P1800 made Greg's kid cry. Let's see here. Doug, how about an 1800 ES versus C30 build competition? I mean, down the road? Possibly. I mean, let me put it this way. I'll touch on it more in a little bit when we actually do get into it. But I would love to do like a road-going S2000 touring car inspired C30 with the screaming naturally aspirated 5-cylinder. I think I want to play around with that engine more than I want to play around with the C30, but I think something like that would kind of tickle my interest once, I have the mega powerful kind of track car, take it out on the track like the Mustang to really get the most out of it, and have a back canyon car. That those S2000 engines sound incredible, and apparently you can get pretty close to them performance-wise for street use. So that would be something be interested in. Again, just down the road, because I have a 2-car garage in mind, and I'm so damn close to getting to it that once I have something like that, then I can start playing around with some of these builds that are bouncing around in my head. Charles, big brain, shove the C30 T5 into a P1800 ES. I mean, that'd be cool. I think it'd be cooler keeping the rear-wheel drive and everything. 5-cylinders are just cool engines, regardless of who makes them. Volkswagen, Audi, Volvo specifically. 5-cylinders are just cool, interesting, different engines because, frankly, from an engineering perspective, they shouldn't. They should never be a thing. It's about excuse me. It's about increasing displacement without, going from a 4-cylinder to a straight 6 and keeping that transverse-ish style layout. Unless you're Audi and you just sort of hang it off the front end and stuff like the Quattro and things like that. But 5-cylinder engines are just interesting because they're different. They require a lot of supporting stuff to them, like balance shafts and all this other sort of stuff, just so they operate. And then they make a unique sound, which is also, because, we've all heard straight 6s. We've all heard Supras and GTRs and Skylines and BMWs and all this other stuff. The straight 6 has kind of become V6s are ubiquitous and everywhere. V8s kind of have their place, but nothing quite is as unique as a 5-cylinder. Antoine asks, Chad, if the Mustang didn't exist, what would you be driving as a daily that you would also be modifying like you're doing with your Mustang right now? If it's a car I need to drive while I'm modifying, I'd probably be looking into something like probably would have kept something like my IS300, except I would have put done like a V8 swap in it. I don't know if I would do. So there's a bunch of different options in that avenue. The obvious answer is like an LS. I think it'd be cool to have an LS7 in it. I don't know if a Coyote would fit. I know they did fit like the 3UZ in there, but that is not nearly as wide as a Coyote. So those three, the two American options would be cool. I always thought it'd be awesome to have a Coyote powered IS300. It would kind of mimic the new IS500 because the Coyote and the 2UR that's in the IS500 now are actually pretty similar in their design and output and how they deliver power and things of that nature. Probably I would go with 1UZ, build that up, try to get as close to 12-1 as far as compression is concerned, connect it to a pretty high-end engine management just to help prevent things like knock and things of that nature. I've always really had a soft spot. I wanted to play around with like the original ATS-V. I drove one of those a bunch of years ago and really loved how those drove. I might even consider like a big badass pickup truck, like a Raptor or something, and play around with that just because I've done the road car stuff for a bit now. The idea of an off-roader kind of intrigues me. I always liked the look of E46 BMWs, but having owned one, I don't know if I'm really eager to get back into that space. Fun fact, before I got the Mustang, I was actually looking into C6 Z06s. Again, just because I love the LS7. I love the idea of 427 cubic inches. That is a big appeal to me, even though you can get an LS3 to make similar power. It's not about that. It's about the cubic inches, to be honest. It is. There's probably a million other things I haven't even thought of at this moment in time. But in the interest of keeping things moving, I might have to make an entire video about that because like there's so much. Just sitting here thinking all different types of stuff. I would love an RS4 Audi, even though it's probably a poor decision at this point because Audi and their legendary electrics. But I always loved the look of those cars.
Yeah, they're an all-timer for sure.
Charlie, another big brain moment. Put his part two of it. T5 all-wheel drive in a P1800. I mean, well, I mean, why not? I mean, if we're playing around, I always thought it'd be cool to put that driveline in like one of Greg's wagons. I think that'd be cool. Kind of a cool build. Antoine, is there any off-road stuff in New Jersey?
Everywhere.
Yeah. If you go way back into the Shifting Lanes 1 coffer, you will see us off-roading in effectively someone's backyard. In a stock Jeep Sahara, I think it was at the time. And
yeah, it was a Wrangler.
It was a Wrangler, and a completely built off-roader, which is still to this day one of the coolest things we did for Shifting Lanes.
Yeah.
You know, Charles, there's stuff up by me in North Jersey and stuff like that. Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah. New Jersey has a lot of woods. A lot of people don't realize that. Like, people think of New Jersey as just this sort of like
Sopranos
industrial complex to New York City. Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it's nothing but Jersey City, Staten Island, and Bayonne. That's what people think of New Jersey as.
How did you get Staten Island in New Jersey?
Because of Jersey Shore. Like, that's what people think of. Like,
well, that's what happens when you put a bunch of New York meatheads in the, you know.
Right, exactly. It's like it's all like that's what people think of New Jersey. They think Staten Island. They think it's like they think a lot of people think New Jersey is just some big industrial complex for New York City, and close to the city that's sort of true. But like
once you get outside,
there's like we live in like the woods. Honestly, there's way more deer in this area than there are people. Like that's just the truth.
Yeah, I mean, once you get outside of the metro areas, like New York, Philly, and Atlantic City to a smaller extent, New Jersey's it's the Garden State for a reason, you wits. And then Steve, who doesn't live in New Jersey based by his YouTube comment, says, where I live, we call it pork roll. Wrong. Taylor ham. Now I see why Facebook got mad at you.
It's Taylor ham. You're banned. You're not banned. You're banned.
And there's no such thing as Central Jersey. I don't care what anyone says. There's North Jersey and there's South.
There's literally a Central Jersey magazine. End of topic.
Doesn't matter.
There's literally
that is
something dedicated to it.
At what point on our channel's history have we ever shown ourselves actually shifting a lane?
Every driving video we've ever done on the road.
There's no such thing. It's North Jersey and South Jersey. Central Jersey was made by South Jerseyans who were embarrassed that they were being called South Jerseyans. That's it.
No, North Jersey made up Central Jersey as a place to give a buffer to between South Jersey and North Jersey.
No, that's what...
I'm sorry you're holding your head for how wrong you are.
I'm not. There's no such... It's North Jersey and South Jersey and then people in denial.
Nah.
Yes. For the next hour, that's what our stream will be. You going, yeah, me going, no.
Look, Italian tricolor cookies have 3 colors, right? It's just like New Jersey. Jersey's full of Italians. There are 3 distinct parts to New Jersey, just like the cookie.
And a good lasagna has like 5 or 6 layers. It doesn't mean New Jersey has like a North Central, a South Central, a Central Central.
What would South Central New Jersey look like? There's got to be some sort of like
landfill, or the Pine Barrens.
Yeah, that's just literally woods.
Just the Pine Barrens, and you know what's been. what's been
Oh, man.
allocated there.
Pine trees. That's
Doug, the
pretty much
Jersey
it.
Devil doesn't live in a suburban development. No, it doesn't.
Accurate.
While we're on the topic, F the Devils.
No. Actually, oh, they're playing the Rangers tonight. Hang on, let's see what the score is. See how badly the Devils beat the Rangers just to make it a. Just to make it a. Oh, it's actually a good game. 3-3 in the third with 40 seconds left.
There we go.
All right, that's now going
Listen.
on my phone underneath the computer.
It's on this monitor.
Nice.
Avalanche to Devils to Blackhawks. Pick a team. I understand nobody in chat understands what that is. That is in reference to.
I like them. Blackhawks are still my favorite team. Jersey's just my team by proxy.
Right, and it's only that way because Colorado didn't like it.
That's accurate. That's accurate.
Steve, let's go Devils. Man, you are
Unbanned.
agreeing with Greg. That's
Promoted to assistant.
Doug, and to be fair, from Doug, as a resident of PA, we're glad to give you Philly as West Jersey. I'm going to need a lot of cash compensation before I agree to that deal.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say we need 0 draft picks because that deal is off the table. Hard pass. You can keep Philly.
Wow,
Enjoy.
Steve, shots fired. Going, if you live in New Jersey and root, R-O-O-T, not R-O-U-T-E, just FYI, root for the Rangers, you're in denial. No, because if you lived in Jersey before Colorado got fed up with this franchise, you were a Rangers fan or you were a Flyers fan. It just...
I would like to make the point that you were born after the Devils moved to New Jersey, so stop
And I
it.
live in a Rangers house. That's the one sport that
Argument invalidated.
one sport that everyone in my family roots for the same team. And it just my parents were Rangers fans, and that was the thing. And like watching the '94 Cup run was one of the first sports memories I ever had, as opposed to being a Patrick Waugh
Me too,
file,
unfortunately.
and then his understudy, Brodeur, and then I don't know. Patrick Kane still play for the Blackhawks? I don't know hockey.
He does, yeah.
I know he was up for trading and things like that, but.
Who wants to hear Chad and I discuss things other than cars? Because we can get passionate about other topics as well. Clearly. Especially hockey.
And I can't say what I want to say about the city of Seattle and their football team.
What, and the best jerseys ever conceived by man?
If that man was
like
Ray
our Highlander
Charles.
marker jersey?
Oh my God. That is a case for standard definition.
Oh, man.
Oh my.
Wait, no, Charlie, don't leave. We have big news that we need to discuss next.
All right. Well, for Charlie's benefit, and for the 9 of you who are still here, our diehards, I believe it is time for you guys to get a sneak peek on a future YouTube video. So instead of having to wait for the C30 series that we're currently doing to play out, we're actually going to do the second to last part of that video series here tonight.
Right now. So you guys are going to be part of it, actually.
The floor is yours, Gregson.
So, with that being said, we have some sad news.
Sad moose power.
Sad moose noises. I don't know what a moose noise is.
I'm going to turn that into an alert
no
sound.
longer What's that?
I'm going to turn that into one of the alert sounds.
Nailed it. Do it. We are no longer the owners of a Volvo C30.
Nope,
Chad has waved moose goodbye to the C30. In fact, he literally doesn't have the car anymore.
Nope.
So,
and I replaced it with a pull-on basket case. You guys are gonna love that content.
As a temporary fix.
Yes.
So the whole point is the C30 hasn't been done. Nothing's been done to it in a long time. Chad's super focused on the Mustang. The C30 is sort of an afterthought car. We didn't want to do it a disservice to both the channel and the car itself. to just let it keep sitting there. So from a business standpoint, we thought it was the best case scenario just to kind of let it go. And that's sort of where we are right now. So we do not have a C30 anymore on the channel. Chad is no longer the owner of it, and I have come up with some wonderful questions as to why this is happening.
Greg is going to be your voice chat. He's also going to be the voice of the actually verbalize some YouTube comments, which
oh man, this is a bad choice.
Well, the fire is directed at me, so
correct.
You just happen to be the.
Yes, I'm the deliverer of the message.
Yeah.
So let's start by talking about the car as it was. So, what would you say is the best memory you had with the C30 overall?
Best memory. So this is kind of twofold. So one of the actual Greg, please tell Chad, how dare you?
Chad, how dare
you? So believe it or not, with all the mods, which were plenty, and everything, that I have two memories that sort of stick out. And the first one is when we went to the Tail of the Dragon, and just getting to meet, I don't even know how many people were there. It was a lot. I went back and watched our Tail of the Dragon highlight video, and the amount of cars that were there was staggering. And while this isn't the best part of that, one of the cooler things about it was going there and just like having multiple people come up to me and just being like, yo man, I watch your stuff, like I love it, what do you think about this, what do you think about that, like what are you doing next, like this is awesome, blah blah blah. Like, and then being that, like, so I had, prior to the C30, I had the IS300, and nobody was really doing anything with that on YouTube. So I kind of felt where they were coming from somebody's doing something with my car, that's so cool, like this is awesome. And having just a ton of people come up to me and like tell me that was like cooler than anything I ever did with the car itself, like from driving it, from doing all of this. That was so cool because I never thought I would be a quote YouTuber or a content creator or any of that sort of stuff. And then when we started doing this, like we started shifting lanes as a website, then we moved into YouTube, but all of that stuff was sort of business direct. It was driven by the business side of it. You know, when the website stopped becoming profitable, YouTube was a thing where we could grow organically. We didn't have to reinvest in growing a community and things like that. And then Greg drops the V70R, and we start to become something, you know, the guys with the Volvo and stuff. And then we added the C30, and it was a second thing, and then it started to really take off and gain traction and things like that. And one of the tricks to doing this stuff is to talk to like the camera like it's a person, but I never thought of anyone beyond that point. So actually being able to be in a setting where quote unquote fans or people who were enjoying what I was doing, and not just a couple people, like hundreds of thousands of people, was really, really cool. Then there was the actual act of driving on the Dragon itself, which was awesome. The C30 is really one of the perfect platforms for that. As Greg can attest to, because he did it in a P2.
Yes, I did.
But more than the driving, it was the sitting around the campfire, watching like everybody hang out in a community of people who, okay, so we all drove the same car or the same make of car, or at some point had that car. Just hanging out, meeting new people, meeting great new people that were to that point were faces on Facebook or a chat or a text or any of that sort of stuff. And just, that was one of the coolest things I ever did with that car. The second thing is kind of broken up over a few. Really two videos that we filmed. There was the who could set the fastest quarter mile, which is one of our best project car videos we've ever did. Yeah. And the comments on that were hysterical because people are like, you don't know how to drive, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, go on an unprepped surface and launch a car correctly. Please, I'll wait.
Yep.
You know, and then launching a manual is not an easy thing either. But like that sort of thing where it was me, Greg, Hanson, the three of us hanging out, doing stuff with cars. Like the reason we all got into cars, like our friendship was founded upon Hanson's Evo and us being like, ooh, what is this? Like, you know, like
Pretty much, yeah.
you know, we started talking car, and that's how we all became friends. And then shifting lanes, we obviously talk every day, but we, believe it or not, we don't actually see each other in person all that often. So being able to hang out, do things, have fun in cars in a pretty controlled environment that was, you know, relatively, you know, safe given the cars we had and stuff, and the banter. Like I love the banter. Greg will tell you I'm a ball buster. I love, you know, the trash talk, the going back and forth.
You don't say.
I know, like shut up, Greg. So like that was, to do that was a lot of fun. And like, and the other thing you may or may not know about me is I'm a pretty competitive SOB. So I want to win at this stuff. So like the competition element of it, that like hanging out around our cars was just really cool. And then lastly, when we did, I don't even remember the video, but when you actually drove the C30, Greg, that's the cool stuff. That's what I'm most looking. So obviously I'm looking forward to driving the Mustang when it has all the power and stuff like that. Like, duh. But what I'm looking forward to after that is seeing your reaction, seeing Hanson's reaction when you guys drive the car. And, you know, it's one of those things where you have a concept in your head over a build. Everybody either just sits here and it's either they're plug and playing someone else's build just to get the end result, or they kind of they do things a certain way and so on and so forth. Like I'm boosting the car in a slightly different way than is traditional. It's, we're putting a ton of power into it. So like that in and of itself, it makes it kind of unique because a lot of these boosted Mustangs are in like the 600-ish wheel horsepower range. So like that sort of stuff, hanging out with the general crux of all of these things, and they fall under the same banner, which is hanging out with really good people, having fun, talking cars, and like the car kind of being the reason for it. And my biggest hope with the Mustang is that I'm able to entertain you guys as much as I did with the C30. I understand there's sort of, I don't want to say some people might feel betrayed by me selling it. I feel like you guys would be more betrayed if I just continue to let it sit and just go to nothing. And that was what Greg said. That was like,
I agree with that.
I was not, the only reason I drove that car was it was too snowy for the Mustang, or the Mustang was getting work done. It became a glorified rental car. And I have too much respect for the people involved in the C30 community and the C30 as an engineering piece by itself to just let a car like that sit. So now it's in Texas. It's with its new owner. His brother has the exact same car in the exact same color. And it's it's
cool.
Like, that's really cool to me too, because like he was a viewer. He watched. He knew everything about the car. He knew more about some of the videos than I did because I filmed them so long ago. So it's really cool that it went to a really good home. It went to someone who appreciates the car. It's someone who's going to use the car and then going to put their own personal spin and take on it. He's been sending me pictures of stuff. It's just really cool. Like I said, it's the memories with the people along the way that happen to be in that car that are like I remember the fondest.
Exactly. I agree with that. I think that's a good way to sort of wrap that car up from like the best memory. What would you say is the worst memory from that car?
The boost leak.
I know the answer to this question.
The boost leak.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it replacing the one thing where you threw it across the garage.
Oh, I mean, taking the airlocks out sucked, but that only had to happen once. I had to dive into that. I don't even remember what it was, but it was a valve of some assortment. It wasn't like the CBV, which is effectively an on turbo or in the turbo area blow-off valve. It wasn't in the wastegate, even though like I was reaching down in there to get at the wastegate and everything like that. Yeah. Like the air intake pipe going into the turbo wasn't it was a pain. It wasn't a massive pain in the ass, but the fact that I had to do it like 79 million times is grating.
Yeah.
Because you have to put it, and then if you twist it, and then if you do it the wrong way, you score the aluminum, and which I did, and that's like nails on a chalkboard. So the fact that went on for forever before I could figure it out. The fact that we did a smoke down test with it, we had to, and I'll touch on this a little bit later on, but the fact that the shop I took it to, who's supposed to be Volvo guys, couldn't figure it out. And the reason we found out this whole boost leak thing, because the car was on the dyno not making power. There's no worse feeling than being at the dyno, being excited to see what your mods did to the car, how much power you added. Like, because like, even though like 30 horsepower isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things, it's just, all right, my hard work, because I did a lot of the work on the C30 myself. Like, my hard work led to something. And this is a tangible thing that I can say, my hard work netted me this much. And the fact that it was such a mystery, and the fact that I actually had to take it back, not to the Volvo guys, who just also happened to be like a 10-minute drive from my house, all the way back out to East Rutherford, which is like 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on time of day. And these Subaru guys figured it out. Like,
Yep.
Because not having boost and trying to figure out the boost problem and figuring out why the ECU was freaking out and hearing it from Elevate, like, oh, it's not the tune. I'm like, I'm not saying it is, but this is one of the things I was told to check. And like, all this, it just became such a massive pain in the rear end that without question, it's the worst. It trumps the intake, because I only had to do the intake once, and it actually made putting in the intake manifolds easier. It made doing the PCV system easier. It made doing the thermostat easier. So by removing it, it had a knock-on effect of doing other mods. This was just a pain in the ass, because it was at the tail end of my horsepower mods, and I just wanted to be done with them. And it just wasn't. And it was annoying as hell. Real quick, before you ask your next question, yes, Antoine, at some point I do want to go back to Tail of the Dragon. I do want to take the Mustang, and I do hope to survive it.
And that's something we want to do with subscribers too, from our supporter group. So like, what I'd love to do in the next year or two would be to go to Tail of the Dragon with our supporter group. I think that would be an epic adventure, and it would be really cool. Like, we open it up to them first, whoever can go, and then we fill like 20 slots or whatever, and get people at the same hotel we stayed at like for the C30 the final trip for the C30 crew. And then just do like that whole weekend again, or that whole week again, because that was so much fun. I would love to go back in the next year or two and just be able to drive that road again, in any car, quite frankly, because it really is epic. But yeah, I think that's something we'll do. Next question I have for you actually is something that I thought of. The next two questions of that is this a good platform for people looking for a relatively cheap hatch for enthusiasts?
Yes.
Why?
Because there's nothing quite like it for the price. They are going up in value now, especially the manuals and things like that. But there aren't many other 220 horsepower manual hot hatchbacks that you can get for around $10,000 or less.
Especially with that noise. With the 5-cylinder noise is a huge
and
deal.
it makes a really unique growling noise. I mean, I've heard some Focus STs and even the RS, and say what you will about those cars, man, but they do not. Some of those exhausts just sound awful. Like, worse than some Honda guys. And to whatever Honda guys I just offended, so be it.
Which is saying something.
So it makes a great sound. It's a really good value. You just have to understand that it wasn't designed from factory to be a performance first car. So like I said in this week's video, like the shifter, the seats, they're not what you'd expect. So you'd have to figure out a way to kind of make them a little more sporty. Seats are easy. Find some good buckets, make sure they fit. Go to town. Shifter, a little more difficult. There are some short throws that were floated around at some point, but nothing I've ever been able to get a concrete. This is a good kit. The other thing is there is an aftermarket for it, but if you're looking for an inexpensive aftermarket, it isn't. You
Right.
know, you know, a downpipe exhaust tune and a front mount really is really all I would do to the car, power wise, before I start looking into like limited slip diffs if you have a manual, uh, which is
Hmm.
the I've said it once and I'm probably going to say it in every video coming up. It's the biggest regret of that car. I wish I had done that before I did some other stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
And a sort of follow up to that question is, would you recommend a C30 to others looking for one?
Absolutely. Even if you don't intend on modifying them, they're just a good, solid, little unique car. So when you're driving around, people are going to be like, "What the hell is that?" And you've done nothing to it. It could be bone stock. Most
Yeah.
people are not going to really know what it is, and that's kind of a cool feature of it. Is that we modify cars, or at least I do, is to make them mine, to make them unique, to make them different, to make them. Any schmuck can go out and buy this car in this spec. I want to make sure that when people look at my car, they know it's a little different than that. The C30 almost does that at a factory, which makes it a really cool little car just based on rarity alone. The thing of it is with any Volvo, you're going to pay a bit of a premium on stuff, but that's where sites like FCP Euro become invaluable, where you do an oil change, and then technically speaking, all you have to do is pay shipping the rest of the time you own the car if you're willing to go through the parts ordering process and everything like that. Same for brakes, same for clutches, same for a whole mess of
Hmm.
other things on FCP Euro that you really only have to pay for once. So if you do a brake job, the second time you do the brake job, it's half the price. They're, you know,
Right.
the third time you do it, it gets even cheaper. The fourth time you do it, it's even cheaper. It's so on and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
They're not the easiest cars to work on, nor are they the hardest cars to work on. Just ask anyone who's had to change spark plugs in a Subaru. Uh, they'll tell you that if you want hard to work on, that's kind of a hard job. But for the price, it's a Volvo, so it's going to be safe. I was actually just having this conversation with a member at work about, unfortunately, his daughter had a little fender bender. She's fine. I mean, it's her first accident, so like obviously emotionally there was some that's but I was sitting here saying, if the car's totaled, you might want to look into a P1 platform, whether it be a C30, an S40, or a V50, because they're good little cars. They're decent enough on gas. They're reliable. They're gonna
Yeah.
and especially to a father for his daughter, safety's a big thing. So
Yeah. Um, do you think you're going to disappoint a lot of people with this decision?
I know I am. It's
Probably, yeah.
it's the reason I held on to that thing for as long as I did. Uh, if there was no community that, let's face it, we kind of helped foster, it would have been sold years ago. It probably would have been sold the same year I bought the Mustang. So I held on to that thing for 2 extra years, just out of this sense of, I don't know if you want to call it loyalty to the fan base. There's a part of me uh, that hates the idea of disappointing fans, especially like the fans who are early fans. But what made it a lot easier was the fact that we're going to have 3 Volvos on the channel, and I don't have to necessarily own one of them.
True.
you know,
I think that's an excellent point. You don't, I have said in the past, and I believe this is true. For the rest of my life, I will always own a Volvo, and it has to do with the safety. It has to do with the community. It has to do with something you hit on. A lot of people just don't expect Volvos, and sort of give them a second look. Like if they see a cool one, like I've gotten a lot of looks in this. My old V70R, people are like, "Oh, what is that?" It's like it's cool. The same thing with the C30. You get that extra look, and not necessarily in a vain sort of way. Like, well, I want that extra look. It's more of just like a really cool conversation starter. Like, oh, I thought Volvos were just these safe things, and then you can have a conversation like, they took like a wagon racing back in the 90s, like with the British touring cars. Like that's a cool story, and they just have an interesting heritage that a lot of people don't know of outside of commuter cars and safety, which I think is cool. So to me, that's a big selling point, and that's why I will always, own one. To that point, like everyone else on shipping lanes doesn't necessarily have to have one, so that way we can always have Volvo content for people that do want to watch that. But we hope that more people still come back for us and the cars we do own in the future, even if it's only one Volvo on channel with me owning it, in the future or whatever. That you come back for us and the cool things we do with other cars, not necessarily just Volvo stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it would have been a much harder decision if, like, let's just say you had sold the V70R, I had sold, and I was about to sell the C30 and stuff. Like, those were the foundations on which you could say this channel was built.
Yeah.
So it was tough, especially when you see both of them go. But yeah, it was just time because I wasn't driving it. I needed something. I want 4-wheel drive body on frame for my next vehicle. Just I just want that because frankly, if it was just all-wheel drive, crossovers aren't interesting. I don't care how, like, you could try really really hard to make a Honda CRV a zombie apocalypse. It just doesn't do it for me. So, but it was time, and I got a decent enough offer. It was a little more than I said I'd been willing to, because I got to a point where I would have let this thing walk away for not a lot of money just to make it. I don't have to pay insurance on you anymore. Go away, sort of a thing. So, but real quick, just to touch on a couple things. Couple things to chat. Antoine, would I take a C30, a Jetta, or an RS3 5-cylinder? The RS3. That is just. It sounds like a miniature V10 in mono, not stereo, if that makes any sense. V10, remove a block, you don't have. At any rate, RS3 sounds really good. And then Doug, yes, everybody does forget about the C70 in the P1 platform. I do forget about it a lot just because it's weird to me. It's like, wait a minute, this two-door, but right. But yeah, the C70, it is forgotten. It's always been a goofball in my opinion, but that's kind of why people like Volvo in some respects, is because they are kind of goofy.
Yeah, I guess the last question, which you've hinted on a couple times, is like why you sold it. But I guess the better question is, what was the one thing that sort of made you, or like what was the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will, that made you sell it?
Kind of so it was about a year before I actually did pull the trigger, but it was when I was going through this whole. It really was centering around the caster issue, and then again this shop that will remain nameless, who were supposed to be experts on these cars, was just like, take it to an alignment shop. And literally everyone else I talked to, Rich Forsyth being one of them. If you're in the P1 crowd and you don't know who that is, find out. The man is an encyclopedia of knowledge and is one of the best car dudes I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. Just his willingness to help people alone is mind blowing. So, but a lot of people were sitting there like, nah, that ain't right. And we did eventually start the process of looking into fixing it, when I was like, I'm selling this just to see if we could get top dollar for it. But the fact that I was having to run around and deal with this issue that I just didn't want to deal with anymore, it was taking money away from the build I actually wanted to do. It was just frustrating. And anyone who's had like a constant problem, I mean, I'm sure Steve's Jeep, not to be a dick, but I'm sure you've hit points with that car like, oh, not this again, or why can't I figure this out, or what is this issue? I couldn't figure it out. I had experts telling me two different things. The expert I believed was saying this. I replaced the subframe in the thing, and it still didn't really fix the issue. Like, I was done. At that point, I'm like, I am no longer throwing money at an empty hole with this car. When I can be throwing it at something like, say, the Mustang or say a truck. It's just, it just made,
That's a valid point.
it was just, it just became such a headache for me. And it was one of those things where part of the reason I never drove it is like, out of sight, out of mind. I don't really own that car until the insurance bill comes. But it's not like it was crazy expensive to insure.
You could sort of sum it up where it was you got so frustrated with the car that it wasn't even worth putting any effort into at that point because you had already moved on. You had the Mustang, and it was no disrespect to the platform or the C30 or P1 community. It was more of just like, I've owned this car for 2-3 years now, and I need to, like, you know, wet my palate for something else.
Yeah.
Enter the Mustang.
Exactly. Well, it was, and here's where I will be perfectly honest, perfectly blunt. I got the C30 as something. I got the C30 because it was basically a European Ford Focus underneath, and I liked the nostalgia of going back to my quote first car. And but a lot of the driving force behind it was, what's the funnest Volvo I can find to see if we can continue capitalizing on this market that we sort of stumbled into, and that just happened to be the C30. So there was. I really enjoyed the car. It was a lot of fun. It's a cool platform. I'm really proud of the work I put into it. But there was never really a deep need or a deep love for that car. Like, you know, the Mustang, I mean, you want it, you're going to have to come fight me for it. Like, that's just the end of it. And like I said, with the C30, the last bit of it on channel, you saw the boost leak. Then there was the issue with the caster. And it was just like, things were just, and don't get me wrong, the caster is a pretty easy fix, but it was just starting to be like, I don't want to throw money at this anymore. I want something epic, and for all the C30 is, regardless of if it's Rich Forsyth's car or whatever I can't remember the name of it. But the car he's currently or has been working on in his shop, which was an all-wheel drive, 600 plus horsepower, that sounds epic, but the car itself will never be epic. If you know what I mean, like a Mustang with 700 horsepower at the wheels, manual box, just the body work I'm going to be doing it, the amount of carbon fiber that I'm going to be putting on it, that is epic to me, more so than the max level, max form. And not for nothing, 2 people had already done that to the C30. I didn't really want to do it again. And it was just
go with your passion. And your passion wasn't the C30, your passion was a Mustang. Flat out.
Yeah, and just to Antoine's point, whether you're building and modifying or keeping a vehicle bone stock, there's only so much you're going to take until you have reached your breaking point and don't want nothing to do with a certain car from a certain brand ever again.
Yeah.
Let me be perfectly clear. The C30 never soured me from Volvo. I would, if there is a build out there that I'm like, I dig it and I can afford to do it the way I want to do it, I'll absolutely get into Volvo again. 100%. It's not like me and BMW, where the M3 I had really soured me to the brand as a whole. It's nothing like that. I would do another Volvo. I would, like I said, I think I said this earlier in chat. I would love to do I would love to play around with that 5-cylinder out of the C30 and build it like the S2000 touring car to get a 350, 370 horsepower, naturally aspirated, small displacement, high revving engine that howls at the moon. I would love to play around with something like that. It's just, that's a $10,000 engine build. It's not even talking about the rest of the car. And we are at shifting lanes at a point where when I eventually do the modifications to the Mustang, there's only a couple little things that I could pick at, but then I'll be freed up to do another project. And I'm not saying specifically it will be a Volvo. I'm not saying it won't be. But like I said, the next vehicle I want to get is a truck. And one, because we've never done a truck on the channel, and I think it'd be kind of cool. Number 2, it's just I need a 2-car garage. I need my good condition car with a shit ton of horsepower, and I need a pretty awesome off-roader. Not that I off-road a lot, but I just want to be able to look outside and be like, to hell with this. I don't care if it's snowing. Let's go to work. And that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think that it's all summed up by Doug's comment, quite frankly, which is a perfect way to end it. nothing wrong with getting to the end of a build arc. And that's exactly what it is. You owned the car, you thought it was cool, you did some modifications to it, it sat, you sort of moved on from it a little bit, and you know what? This is sort of the end of the character arc. It's the character that's going away in season 3. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the way the C30 is. Now, to that point, like I, in the future, would love to own a C30 and do a build on that because, again, I'm a Volvo guy. So I think that would be a really cool thing for me to do in the next couple of years. Um, you know, God forbid we make it larger on YouTube and this whole shorts and reels thing sort of blows up and we have more money to throw around at fun projects. Like I would love to own as many Volvo fun cars as I can. C30 and really do that 600 horsepower kind of build or recreate an actual Polestar concept that was made by Volvo. That would be a really cool build to me. Redo the V70R that I had, or even buy that back if I could find it. I know the owner that has it now, but if he decides to sell it, tracking that down, but rebuying that back, things like that would be cool to me to do. A C30 being in those plans. But I also want to do other things. Like I miss my V8 Vantage, terribly. Like every other day, I think about that car. I know you do too. So things like that. Like I would love to do those sort of things with the money that we make from shipping lanes. So there's a lot of plans down the road, and hopefully all of these things sort of pan out in our favor, where we can bring you guys content like that. And that's sort of where my head's at, to bring you guys content that you actually want to watch, as opposed to just being like, nope, Volvo's the end all be all, because it's not. It's a great car company. They have cool cars. I'll always own one. But at the end of the day, there's lots of other stuff we want to do. So, getting to the end of a build arc, you're right. There's literally nothing wrong with that. And that's what all of the big car YouTubers do. Like most people don't follow B is for Build or Tavares just because they built, the Mustang or the McLaren or the Supra or the M5 powered 240. They come for the people, and hopefully over the years, like, you guys will come back for us and the fun things we do as opposed to just the vehicles.
Exactly. Well said. And it's a perfect spot.
The end. NC.
Yeah. Yeah. So, real quick, Antoine asks, are you getting stronger synchros for the MT82 with your build?
Yes.
That's the exceptionally short answer of it. So
sort of.
the only MT82.
You explain that. I'll be right back.
The only real MT82, as it was from Ford, is the case. I'm getting it completely rebuilt. It'll have bronze shift pads, billet shift rail stop, new carbon fiber synchro seals, bearings, etc. Micro polishing just makes everything smoother and more engaging. Plus a billet gear set produced by G-Force specifically for Calmer, the company that's building it. It'll be rated to 1,000 horsepower and 900 torque. I will be getting it with 26 spline input shaft. And it comes with a, what's it called? The gear set is custom itself, which changes the ratios from factory to make it so when you add the power. So here's the thing: when you add power, especially at like the drag strip or like a straightaway or something like that, you run out of gear in certain spots, and it's not advantageous to say shift 200 feet in front of the finish line in a drag race or something like that, or you want longer gears just so you can take advantage of longer straightaways on, say, a road course or things like that. Or if you're autocrossing, you can just keep it in second gear. Since it's taller, you don't necessarily have to worry about shifting into third because of the short size and short nature of autocrosses and things like that. That is the only, that and the FedEx snafu that I ranted on at the beginning of the stream are the two things that we're waiting on. And then as far as a power standpoint, the Mustang in this phase will be done, and then I can focus on body work. We are going to do a full GT500 conversion on the front end. I haven't decided on the rear end what I want to do, which is why I'm going to probably throw some options up on one of these streams, and you guys can tell me what you like and don't like and things of that nature. Just because my original plan, my original design thought was it was be the best of both Shelbys. So 500 up front, 350 in the rear, but I haven't really found too many 350 rear ends, or more specifically rear valances, diffuser areas, whatever you want to call it. It's not a real diffuser, which I hate fake shit like that, just for the sake of it looking cool. If I'm ever going to put a diffuser on this car, and I'm not ruling it out, it will be real. It'll be connected to a flat floor and actually provide actual downforce, as opposed to just being there because it looks cool. And I want to eventually change the exhaust. Maybe something a smidge milder, just because of it is insane how loud this car is with no boost. It's going to be pretty loud with boost is applied. Not pretty, extremely. I would like to just smooth the sound out a little bit, but more importantly than that is I want to go to quad tips in the rear. Quad exhaust tips just looks better, and it's what all the. I mean, you only have 2 children, so like that sort of stuff. But that was a long-winded way of saying yes, I am getting a stronger MT82. The MT82 suffer from a lot of things. There's a lot of plastic on like the guides and the ship pads and stuff like that, and the the shifter itself is not mounted to the transmission. It's mounted to the body, which in a lot of cases works out okay. But in this case, it makes the transmission so vague that a lot of these MT82s that are breaking are due to imprecise shifting, which you can't really put the foot at the driver, even though some you can say the driver's responsible for it because they're an idiot. But in a lot of cases, it's a guess whether I'm going from third to fourth to third to second. There's a lot of play and a lot of movement in that shifter that is less than ideal. So we are getting a remote shifter relocation kit, which puts the shifter right on the transmission. And it is a shorter throw. It's just going to make it feel, that is probably, apart from the power and maybe the clutch pedal, we are going to a twin disc, so clutch pedal pressure shouldn't be extreme. The reason you go to a twin disc as opposed to a batshit insane single disc is so you have that nice feeling clutch pedal. Between all of that, I feel like the shifter is going to be the thing I notice the most, just because of how often it's used. You don't have to be utilizing the power to utilize the shifter, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, I'm at that stage where I'm like a kid on Christmas, and there's a very real chance this thing's finished the week of Christmas. But I'm
hoping sooner. But if not, I'm excited for a big old Mustang Christmas present for you.
As am I, because it's the culmination of a crap ton of research, of work, of shifting lanes work, of it. To me, this car, and part of the reason why I dove so hard into this car, and sort of, apart from the fact that it's a Mustang versus a C30, and I don't think there's a lot of people who are going to sit here and argue with a V8 pony car, regardless of your proclivities there, over a front-wheel drive hot hatch. Maybe if you're of the European...
Two different ballparks.
Of the European influence. But the point of it is like, I also see this car more than just something for me. It's something to show off what shifting lanes has accomplished. To sit here and say that when this all is said and done, I will have a car making about the same, if not more, horsepower than Tavares's Supra. Something like that says a lot to me.
That's cool.
Like that's really cool that we were able to do that. Like little old shifting lanes.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really neat.
So.
And on that note, It's late and I'm tired.
Good night, sir.
Let's go to sleep.
Yeah, I agree with you there, man. But yeah, thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you to our new supporter, Charles, and to those of you who sent stars today, Doug, and if I forgot who else, please, Justin, thank you. Thank you to everyone, and even if you didn't contribute financially or whatever, just watching these streams is a big deal. So thank you so much, and we will. I did want to say one more thing before we signed off. I don't know the date yet, but we are going to be launching a secondary stream that is not shifting lanes sort of related. The biggest thing that would share with shifting lanes is the meat. But I am actually going to be launching a gaming channel in the not too distant future over on YouTube. And when I do, the supporters will be the first to find out. But stay tuned to that because that's a week or 3 away. So it's coming soon. I can't.
With that said.
All right. But other than that,
cool.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Steve, we'll see you on Facebook next week. But we'll be back here next Monday around 8 o'clock. Hopefully closer to 8 than tonight. But I'm Chad. That's Greg. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next